team? So today we're going to be training on exactly how I'm able to stimulate massive focus and how I have not gone under $80,000 a month in the last 1.9 years. And the way that I do this is adjusting my perception at a subconscious and conscious level to control my dopamine levels. I think that most entrepreneurs, they focus on task management or time management. And what I've learned through investing over $500,000 in myself with mentors, experts, coaches, peak performance, and spiritual guides is understanding how to actually create more relax and chill and vibe, but also how to create more precision in action taking and execution. And the way that I do that is I shift my relationship. Okay, I shift my relationship with time. Most people think that they get this attack from time. They feel at the effect of their circumstance. And this causes a lot of overwhelm, a lot of burnout. And what I'm here to show you is a mechanism that you can install right now into your daily workflow, your deep workflow, so that you can actually see that you can also become someone who gets more done in a day than most people get done in a week without burning yourself out and without experiencing a lot of emotional volatility and having that reflect back to you in the indicator light of money being the lagging indicator of behavior. So yes, it is really that simple. And I'm sure you've experienced this too, where you have seen your clients have a cognitive dissonance around shifting their making of moves and how you can see the blind spot so easily, but you just understand like, damn, I wish I could just get it. They just don't get it. And so I'm here to show you that if you control your dopamine levels, you actually lower the down regulation, no different from how a crack addict on the street needs more crack to hit that same pleasure level and that threshold. You also have to understand the power of what Meta knows about you and how they can get inside of your psychology, your neurology, and your emotional template and hot buttons so that you get addicted to the platforms, get addicted to consumption, and get that false dopamine from learning something novel, but not actually executing on it consistently and with potency. So without any further ado, this is exactly how I've done it for myself, created a 7-figure consulting business, okay, high profit margin and a small team, and how I've also helped hundreds of coaches also create a business model that serves their philosophy, feed their family, and also gets them more impact on changing more lives, transforming the world one life at a time, but also having a healthy profit margin and cash flow consistency so that they can actually live the dream and really allow themselves to become the leader who they were born to be. So without any further ado, enjoy the program with this training. And if you have any questions, just drop them down below in the comments and we will see you guys soon. Peace.
So let's talk about the secret that most entrepreneurs will never tell you. Why it seems so strange that people have such a negative relationship with time, right? I don't have enough time. I can't find the time. I don't make the time and blah, blah, blah. So as a CEO of clients and someone who has the service to deliver products to build and create and to sell, it's important for you to wrap your mind around priorities, yes versus no, and the level of thinking someone has, because that's what is in people's way. It's not the strategy, it's not the tactic, it's not do I not have enough time. You just don't have the capacity because the way that you're perceiving time is flawed as it results of what it could be to get to a result much faster and much easier without as much resistance or frustration. This is not something that they teach you, so it's not like you have to believe that there's something wrong with you. There's nothing wrong with you, but the truth is that there's something wrong with how you're doing something. That's for sure, because otherwise you would have the result. But that's the biggest abundance blocker is people assume there's something wrong with them, right? But at the witness consciousness, you're infinite consciousness, and like there's no death, right? There's just infinite. Today we're talking about dopamine. Okay, we're not talking about time management. We are talking about dopamine because dopamine is generally the root cause for neurochemistry, which really does generate habits and behavioral patterns. If you make a mistake, fine. I make mistakes every freaking day. But if that mistake becomes a pattern that you would like to not have anymore, that's where it's time to just stop and identify what's going on. Because that's some sort of identity issue that you've got, right? You know, this is not the most light divinity conversation. Sometimes it can feel a bit dark, but here's the thing, okay? Here's me, and here's all my strategy. If I'm not okay, my mind, my body, my spirit, all of it, none of this stuff ever works out. Never. So what, like, that's just the truth. Like, if you're not okay, like, there's nothing you can truly do at any level of consistency or confidence. So, what we want to just acknowledge is that there are heart, the intellect, right? Intellect, emotion, the
Mhm.
face, the voice, the body, right? And then we have the witness. So witness, all that stuff, right? And these are all things kind of competing for our attention, or at least they're forces that are in motion constantly. And so we just call this what? The totality of you. Okay. Plus you've got your ego too, right? So when we look at personality, is kind of interconnected with personal reality and your basic needs of like the Maslow's hierarchy of needs. But what's interesting is that like there's different parts of us that, let's just say there's a part of us that needs to be soothed. There's a part of us that wants to influence. There's a narcissistic inside of us, and then there's like a contributor, and there's like someone who wants status. There's someone who wants to fight. There's someone who wants to love. Right? So we've like got all these little needs and these little personalities that come up at any given situation. I'm not aware of these underlying like needs. Like the narcissist wants the attention, the influencer wants the status, the fighter wants to win over people, right? The soother, the part of us that needs the soothing wants that like inner child kumbaya. And then there's a soul part of us that wants to just give for no reason, right? How you can start understanding that about yourself, building out more empathy and self-awareness for yourself of like these different needs that you're subconsciously trying to get fulfilled. So I need to set that frame for the whole training on dopamine management because it won't feel like it will make it worth the shifting in your life. Now, people get baby stepped away from momentum very easily because a lot of times most people don't have the same standards that you're trying to go for. Okay, and so through osmosis, we tend to placate or pander to other people's expectations and standards rather than hold our own boundaries, hold our own standards, hold our own expectations, right? So there's high threshold, low threshold. That okay, threshold just means like a minimum that must be met to stay in equilibrium or to stay in regulation. This is dopamine. Okay, and these are various habits, good ones and bad ones. Think of that something like down regulation, okay? Down regulation is when I do, let's say I did like a bad habit. Let's say I did some like 17 lines of cocaine, right? Well, now what happens is then when I stop doing that, okay, I experience a tremendous level of pain and psychologically and then also depression and anger, right? And outbursts of anger because my dopamine levels are unbalanced because I need that same amount of stimulation to feel happy. Now, what's interesting is that Instagram knows this about you. So, what happens for a lot of people is that they are scrolling a lot, they're consuming a lot of sugary stuff, whatever that may be, your favorite content, whatever. And there's things that are monopolizing your capacity, mental bandwidth, and energy, and ability to focus because your brain is too stimulated. But you don't know that because that's your baseline threshold. Okay. Once you stop getting your fix, that's when you start to feel very reactive and only short-term thinking rather than strategic thinking, visionary thinking, intuitive creativity. You see the difference? Those two people are going to get completely different financial results. Now, a lot of people will tell me, "Oh my God, but so how are we going to do this? Like, I feel like I need to cut out all these different habits, maybe scrolling, carbs, fried food, all this stuff, right?" Well, what I would suggest is to start with one at a time and then transition to getting rid of the other one. Now, how do we get rid of them without going crazy? Well, yes, stop one habit, but you replace it with another habit that gives dopamine. So this good habit could be working out. Let's say that gives you dopamine. So that's going to maybe go up 10 points, and the drop in scroll fests will go take you down 20 points. Now, if you were to just stop all scrolling and consumption, you would be very irate because you just dropped 20 points. But that gets mitigated by replacing it with another habit that still gives you dopamine, but is not unhealthy. You see that? So when we replace and substitute it for a healthier one, things would be, cold shower, exercise. It could be breath work. It could be meditation, but these things will give you dopamine, but it's much lower. The level of stimulus that people get bombarded with throughout the day is absolute chaos. And that's normal, right? Because the world is just insane chaos and uncertainty. So in order for you to remove yourself from this paradigm, we need to help you to understand why you believe this paradigm and the narrative that you're buying into. And how do you remove yourself from the narrative, the paradigm, to create ultimate supreme confidence, but also transcendent, exponentially more focus, flow state, and energy and creativity than the average person around you, your competitors. Wouldn't you like to know that? So I know this is pretty obvious stuff, but you'd be very surprised at how shocked people are when they start to understand, wow, like, yeah, maybe that's why I'm very lethargic all the time, right? Because you're literally so stimulated that you don't have anything to do to get around that or over that or through that, because you don't have some sort of tool or roadmap to make that transition of baby stepping yourself back up to what? Momentum, when you've gotten baby stepped away from momentum. Now, the here's the rub. The main goal for us is to try to never get out of momentum in the first place. But first things first is we need to diagnose before we solve. So if we don't diagnose, we're going to be in trouble. I'm going to give you examples of how I have changed my habits, rituals, environments, so that you can model that without losing your own authentic lifestyle and preferences. But you can at least see what I do, if that would be valuable for you and helpful for you guys to see how my days kind of look and how I perceive time. And I think that you may be very surprised about the difference between how I think about time and how you think of time. Okay? A lot of people think about time like tick tock, tick tock. Oh, it's 5:30. Tick tock, up top of the hour, right? But what I think about is, how do I feel? And what I think about is, what would be this project that I'm finishing, and how can I chunk down the tasks, right? How can I chunk down this long-term goal into mini chunks? And I'm compartmentalizing that time. So then time becomes my friend, and it's not this thing that's attacking me constantly. You see the difference? People are always like on the defense around time. Whereas if you just shift your relationship with time, or at least question your relationship with time, you may be surprised at how much more of a space that you can create between your awareness and time being more of an illusion than anything. That's why they say time is flying by when you're having a good time. And time seems to just lurk and creep slowly when you're bored. Okay? What's the beauty? What's the benefit of mastering this part of your life when it comes to dopamine management? What's the benefit? And I'll tell you the very real benefits that are just insanity when it comes to productivity and happiness. And I'm going to give you some cheat codes for giving yourself permission to be lethargic, because don't get me wrong, I give myself plenty of lethargy, but it's strategic lethargy. Okay. It's not lethargy because like, oh, fuck, I regret all those fucking things. I pushed it too far and now I'm in recovery mode. It's like, there's ways to do that without taking a toll on your health. It's so time managers, what they do, which is why they're highly ineffective, is they block a task out for an hour. Now, this doesn't apply for basic shit. Like I'm getting my hair cut at 10 a.m. That's not what I'm saying. But in when it comes to building a business, it's more about blocking X amount of time and just working your way through the list of priorities in the right order. Doesn't matter how fast or long it takes you. That I'm not talking about you need to go to the dentist time and that's subject. It's that's not very moldable. I'm talking about not getting yourself into this paradigm and headspace to say, I will do DM from this time to this time. It's like, no, you're just going to execute X amount of numbers of a certain time and then move on to the next thing, no matter how long it takes. But you're going to stretch out, if you can, the time that you get into deep work, because then it won't feel like work. I'm going to give away the secret that I was going to keep to the end. But the secret, basically, the secret benefit is that I now at this point feel fulfillment and gain energy and a lot of stimulus from working, from recording YouTube videos, recording short format content, writing copy. I get stimulated from as much that as would the average person would get stimulated from scrolling through cool content or movies that are not good for you, like horror movies, pornography, video games, the news and the media. Like all that stuff is very taxing on your system. You may not notice it, but it is. But what if I could tell you that there could be a new version of you who gets very stimulated from just getting in the flow of working? What the hell? Basically, what I'm trying to tell you is like there's a version of you that absolutely loves to be in, like, to actually work. I'm more effective and I get more done in the average day than most people get done in 5 days. Well, it's because I structure my environment in such a way. I am conscious of my intake of dopamine and then the actions I'm taking or content I'm consuming. And I'm aware of how to get out of my own way when it comes to consumption. There's reasons why people procrastinate. It's not just trauma. It's not just all this stupid stuff. There's ways that you don't know about your own brain, which is why your neurochemistry is all over the place. And that's when we start to feel bad because you're like, oh yeah, my brain is designed for survival, not success. Yeah, because your brain loves what's familiar and runs away from what's not familiar. Even that, if that's being a highly successful CEO. If that's not familiar to you, if no one's exposed you to the life in the day of someone who is succeeding at a high level, then of course you're going to get frustrated, right? Or of course you're going to get discouraged. But when you learn how to approach your day, you're going to set the tone for your day, which is going to change the trajectory of your day, which will change the trajectory of your week and then your month and then your year. It's complete night and day. This is a project for you for the next 4 to 6 months. This is not transform your life in the next freaking 30 days cold turkey. In fact, cold turkey will highly, most likely not work. It's extremely painful, extremely horrible. There's something that's still monopolizing you, and I'll show you what that is. Is that your subconscious is trying to close loops. When I give presentations and I want to close deals, I open loops. I create mystery and intrigue in people's minds. Hey guys, we don't have time to talk about how to change your subconscious, but we're gonna drill down on sales and marketing tactics, right? And if I keep that open loop, that will become the doorway for them to turnkey solution buy my offer on the back end of the event, right? So, but in the same fashion, right? That's a little like selling hack. Like when you're trying to position a product, you just open that loop in the beginning and they're like looping on that subconsciously. The subconscious wants to close the loop. So if you were to start a YouTube video, but you never finish it, your brain is going to try to fill in that story. It's going to feel a sense of loss or fatigue without you being conscious of it because you never finished the video all the way till the end. Okay. Same thing for books. Like I'm not saying you need to finish a book in a day, but you should finish thy chapter before you set it down, right? Finish the video. If it's 30 minutes, make sure you have 30 minutes at least finish the video before you go to bed because that will impact your brain at night because you never close the loop on that thing. Now let's drill down one layer deeper. Let's drill down another layer deeper. If you are multitasking, now I'm a guy, so I'm not able to multitask. Women proclaim they can, but I just think that they have faster brains that they can just toggle faster than us. Okay. Science says that there's no such thing as multitasking. Your brain's just
Okay.
pinballing fast, super fast.
Mhm.
So if you watch the YouTube video, absorb yourself in the whole video and don't listen to it while you're eating dinner. Don't. Now, there's always exceptions, right? Like you can listen to music or a podcast while walking, but honestly, like you're kind of you have enough sophistication and discernment to know what is reasonable and what's unreasonable. What's unreasonable really truly actually at a very high level, sophisticated level is that you're consuming more of that video than you are the food that's supposed to nourish you. Why is that? Well, it's because it takes the same amount of energy to change, or no, it takes more energy to change directions than it does to do the task. And people feel, oh, I'm still overwhelmed by the task at hand. I'm like, no, you're not. You just don't realize that you've got to focus only on that task alone and not do the task while having other tabs open and while toggling back from email to work to email to this to TikTok to all this stuff. Your brain is sucking and losing energy because you don't realize that even if it's so subtle, you'd be like, oh, it's not a big deal that I toggle from this tab to that tab. No, of course, when you're working, you may need to toggle from tab. I get that. But just be conscious that when you change directions, now you have in the back of your mind how much energy you're expending by shifting your focus onto something different and then shifting your focus. Now you know to do that slower. And now you have a knowledge that doing the task is, in fact, easier, requires less energy from you to just focus, actually. What takes away that ability is you believing that it's not a big deal to change tasks, like back and forth. You having this false belief that it doesn't take a lot of energy to shift tasks like that is the problem. Yeah, it's the transition that burns the energy. It's the transition away from that onto something else. Because your brain is like a computer, right? So if you have too many tabs open, what happens? It slows down because it's giving one little thing circuit to that, one little circuit to that, one little circuit to that. And because you've got all these tabs open in your brain, that's what's slowing you down. Manifesting generators have a bit more freedom to do adventurous things that just feel right, even though that it doesn't make sense. Like it's a pattern interrupt. Macro thing is like, oh, I just feel like going for a walk. I'm gonna go to this place instead of this place I normally go to. That's healthy for, I guess, a mani gen. But it's how you're doing it that matters, right? It's not like if I'm gonna do this versus if I'm gonna do that. I know this is a very nuanced thing. It almost sounds like I'm contradicting myself, but you'll get a sense for when you're avoiding what needs to be done versus when you genuinely feel that this would be a great pattern interrupt to free your mind, but then to refocus on the task that you know you need to get done. You see that? Again, yeah, like I said, I'm not here to rob you of the magic, but I am saying though that when like it becomes a habit that hurts you more than it helps you. And that's what's challenging about being a business owner is that you are responsible for putting in numbers, measuring things, and being consistent. And, if that does help you to do more effectiveness at that, then it will help you actually. It won't hurt you. So, but again, you know best is you just want to make sure that you are knowing that there is intuition, there is intellect, there is emotion, right? And these are different parts of you that are trying to communicate with each other. The more that you can have those parts of you communicate with each other better, right? Like you can label them of like, oh, this part of me is telling me I want to do this. So you then have this referee of like judging like who wins today, right? Who gets priority today? If going off on a run, you maybe your past version of yourself that wasn't as financially successful as a mani gen, you would have said something like, oh, well, I'm going to be adventurous and just like, free my mind and go for a nature walk. Maybe that walk was an hour and a half versus now that you're getting serious about scaling your business, maybe that walk becomes 10 minutes. Okay. As a business owner, you just want to see yourself as a scientist that's testing in a lab. Don't start identifying your self-esteem on, oh, is the business going high or low? It's like, that's called situational confidence. That's the narrative that people buy into, which is why when their business goes down, their self-esteem goes down. They don't have as much charisma or swagger or self-esteem. Same thing with the whole narrative around looks and beauty. Oh, when I don't have a good hairdo, oh, well, I feel like I'm not confident. Well, yeah, that's why you're only like half confident, right? You're competing in a paradigm that is almost unwinnable because there's always someone richer than you. There's always going to be someone better looking than you in the market, right? Not just for business, but for dating. So what I do is I remove myself from that and I curate a third lane of competency, which is being my fully expressed self and communicating effectively with people, right? And that's where you're carving out this kind of one, right? Category of one personality, where you're leveraging the force of that uniqueness. How do you express yourself when you're in a creative, resourceful, happy state, a joyful state, a self-amusing state, right? When everything just feels right and you see yourself as a high status individual who's a 10 in the eyes of God. And you say, "Well, I'm confident because I'm me, baby. I'm me, baby," right? And it's like this is why you see delusional confidence in rappers who even drug themselves to turn on that muscle of, and it takes a lot of mental strength to turn on that delusional confidence. But ironically, it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy because they're owning the whole thing, right? They're owning the insecurities, the shadow. They're owning all of them, and they're just like, I gave away all my last fucks to give because they just don't care if they're even broke. They're still the shit. They don't care if they're ugly as fuck. They're still the shit. There's no good reason for them to be confident, right? Now on paper, that doesn't make any sense to someone who's earned $1 million success like me, right? That's dumb. That's not fair. He acted like a clown and he's more successful than me, right? But it is fair because again, it's a skill, it's a muscle, and it takes frame, right? When you believe it, all of a sudden people start to just fall into that frame. They're like, oh yeah, okay. They just go with it, right? But if you're half in, half out on the frame, then you're still someone who's buying into the societal frame of looks and money, looks and money, looks and money, right? And that's what give you confidence and status. It's the weirdest shit ever. People don't think at that level, do they? They just say, I need to get the client. Because again, you're just not measuring your confidence based on the what? The metrics of societal success. So you're confident for no reason. You have no good reason in the eyes of the average entrepreneur to be confident. That's why it works though. It basically demonstrates that you have the level of expansive awareness to know that you're not going to buy into the game where you're compensating for some insecurity because of with the money. You're compensating for some insecurity with the six pack. I'm not saying people who haven't earned financial success or a great body don't feel confident. Of course they do. But do you see how much more powerful it makes you when you're not playing by those rules though? Okay? Because again, like even if those people think that they've gotten a certain level of success, they're going to still have millions of miles to go because there's someone who's millions of miles past them, right? There's some people who think 500K a year is like pennies. That's like a drop in the ocean for those people, right? So you're like, damn, man, I can't win. Well, again, then play a different game. You've been thinking about it in this paradigm for your whole life, basically. Like your whole social conditioning tells you, well, here's why you should be confident. It's all these situational confidence. You need to have your best friend come in with you at the bar for you to be socially free, not filtered, unstifled, not in your head, right? Instead, you've got humor, hilarious jokes, you're fucking confident. You initiate conversations. It's effortless. It's easy. It's hilarious. You're the shit. Like everyone likes pandering to you. They want your attention. They're crawling all over you. They want to date you. They want to pay you money. Celebrities are coming up to you, right? Like I'm just speaking to your DNA right now, right? So again, it's not that you had the thing. It's that you're after the feeling. And we have this neurosis where we still believe that we need to have the money before we feel the freedom. So we're owned by money, in other words. You're controlled by money. Even if you're making billions of dollars, you're still trapped in a prison, but you can justify it calling it a golden prison. You are king of the NPCs. Good job. Right? Like you're still king of the slaves. You're like, I'm the top G slave, baby. I'm the queen slave. It's like, yeah, you are. Good job. Okay. Now, spiritual people will take this out of context and say, well, then why bother making money? I'm like, shut the fuck up and learn some marketing and sales and make money. Right? You don't actually have empathy. You have fake empathy. You're a fraud. You're insinuating that you're above rich people because you're just too lazy, too arrogant, too ignorant to learn how to make money. And you're saying this superior moral high ground of like, well, God provides for me. Yeah, but you eat granola bars every day. Doesn't that get old for you? No, it doesn't, because I just steal shit from rich people. Yeah, but I'm still spiritual because we're all one, right? It's mine too, right? Like that person, if I stole their wallet, we're all one, right? So like, it's communism now. It's communism. No, it's not. You see my point? It's not. You don't want that. I know it sounds sexy, right? Communism, but it's not. Okay, it just doesn't work.
Awesome. I hope you enjoyed that video. To integrate this, I would ask you, what did you love and learn, and what is the best next action step? What are the adjustments that you may need to make to your daily workflow to get more done in less time and enjoy the process of execution? And if you want to have a clear infrastructure and context of what's working now in 2025 when it comes to top of funnel, middle funnel, and bottom of funnel, without needing live launches or even needing sales calls, how to turn your business model into something that creates credibility and trust quickly, but also allows you to get your leads pre-sold before they even qualify for a pitch, click the video below and everything is explained in full transparency, everything here, and we'll talk to you very soon. Peace.